everyone, Lisa Gifford here, and welcome to Martelli, and this is our Sew and Show subscription box for September 2024, and this is it. It's absolutely adorable. We are showing you the tutorial for the Martelli Uni-Tote, or short for Universal Tote, because there are so many different things that you'll be able to do in making this project. You can change it up, you can tweak it up, all kinds of fun things. So this is the Martelli Uni-Tote, and this is your September, and I've got the full tutorial that we'll be doing for you here today. So this is it. It's a cute little zipper tote, and you can add pockets if you want to add pockets. I've got pockets in this one, and this is the exact one that we're going to be making for you today. This one is our medium. We actually have two other sizes available. The medium is, I'm going to give you the measurements on it. It is 14 inches wide, or length, and it is 4 inches width, and it is 8.5 inches high. So it is, again, it is 14 by 4 by 8.5. And it's got some great little mesh straps that we put on here. I've added some little pull tabs on the side so that you could add some D-rings if you want. It's got this cute little accent that you have right here. So what all do you get in the box to make this? Well, everything that you need is going to be in the box so that you'll be able to make this project. And once you make one, you're not going to want to stop there. You want to continue making more of them. And I've got so many of them here for you. So this one here, again, this is our medium size, cute little tote. Great to have with your handle. It even is just long enough for you to be able to put on your shoulder. You can also, like I said, add some longer straps to it, and you could attach them right here with some D-rings. Have a nice long strap on it so it could be a crossbody. I have an idea where you could actually make it with Insulbrite or the polytherm that Bosal has, where it gives it insulated, so it could be an insulated bag. It could be a cosmetic bag. It could be an everyday little bag. You can do so many different things. You can have it with these long handles. You can take these little accent pieces off. There's just so many different things that you could add the pocket to the outside, have longer pockets on the inside. So I'm going to go over all the different things that I've done. That's why we kind of called it the Universal Tote, because it could be so many different things. Again, this one is the medium size, and I wanted to show you a couple other examples that I had done. And I wanted to show you these little accents that I have here on the side. I did them with fabric, but could you imagine doing them with maybe some leather or some vinyl to accent them with? And I actually got one that I did that way. Here's one that I did with I think this is Laurel Birch fabric. This was her dog's. And so here's one with the Laurel Birch fabric. Here is one with Cafe. And when I get into what you get in your kit, it's going to be all Cafe. So this one's done with the Cafe fabric. This one's with Cafe. Here is another one with Cafe. And look, I've got the vinyl accents on the side. Looks like leather that I put on this one. And then here was the very first one I had done in testing everything out. So they're absolutely fun. So what all do you get in the kit? Well, everything you need to make it. You're going to get 2 yards of the 1-inch webbing. So this one is, can't remember the name of the webbing, but it is 1-inch webbing. It's the poly webbing, 1 inch. So you're going to get 2 yards of this. It's enough to make the 2 handles. You're going to get a 15-inch strip of the zipper tape. So you're going to get 15-inch, and it's the rainbow with the black. You're going to get a rainbow zipper slider that's going to go with it. You're going to get the material that you need for the accent on the corners, on the bottom. So you're going to get the fabric for the accent. You're going to get your lining material. So it's 1/3 of a yard of the lining. I think it's a little over a 1/2 yard for the accent, and then 1/3 of a yard for the exterior. And so all of them are going to be done in Cafe fabric. The only one that's not Cafe is this one right here, and this is Black on Black by Wilmington. So we got all kinds of great fabrics that you're going to have with this one. Now this one can be done with several different fusibles. You're going to be getting the fusible fleece in your kit. I believe it's 23 by 15 or 16 by 23. So it's enough to be able to do both of the exterior pieces that you're going to need. You can use fleece, you could quilt your fabric, you could do it with batting, you could do the fusible foam. I think there's all different ways that you could use this project for what you're going to have to give it just a little bit of body, but you're all going to get the fleece with it. So that's all the materials that you're going to need to be able to make this project, and of course you're going to get the Martelli templates, and it's just 2 templates. You've got your main piece right here. Again, it's going to say the Uni-Tote. It's going to have the M on it, it's the medium, and it's going to say body, and it's going to have a place right here where it says fold, because this is your fold line. And like all of Martelli templates, they have that amazing get a grip on here, so nothing's going to slip or slide on you when you're using it. Then you're going to have the accent piece, and this says also Uni-Tote, and it's the medium, and it's going to say accent on here. If you know Martelli, this is actually one of our circle templates, and we're just going to be using it to cut out these pieces right here, 8 of them. But let me tell you, if you want to use it for the circle, it's going to be a big one. It's going to make a circle that is about 12.5 inches. This is going to be like a 12.5 inch circle of with the Martelli template. So these are the 2 pieces that you need to be able to make this project right here. So I'm going to show you some of the other sizes that we have. The small one, it is 10 inches wide, 3 inches deep, and 7 inches high, and I've got that one right here. This is the little small one that I had made, just a cute little adorable bag, super, super easy to do. And when you get in the pattern, it's going to have all the instructions on here for all the different sizes, and I'm going to try to be sure to get every bit of the measurements on here because the measurements are going to be a little bit different. But this one here is the small one. And then here is the large one. I absolutely love this one. So this one here, the large, it is 18 inches in length, 5.5 inches in width, and it is 11 inches in height. And that's this one right here. Also done with Cape, and here's where I had some pleather that I put on the corners on this one. And all of them have pockets on the inside. So you don't have to have pockets. You could have just pockets that are just partial to the inside, or I was thinking you could actually make a pocket that goes all the way across and put some dividers in it. So again, this is the largest one, and these are going to be available to you when, for those of you who are part of our subscription, people who get the subscription box. And so I wanted to show you here is the small version. Right here, here's the 2 pieces for it, and this piece right here is, I'm going to tell you what size circle it makes. So it makes a 10-inch circle. That's this one right here. So this is part of the small set, the 2 pieces for it. And then the large one, let me show you how big this one is. So this is huge. This is a big one. So this is the big piece, and I want to say that it's going to make about a 16, so about 30, well, let's see. If it's 8, 16, probably about a 16-inch circle will be the big one if you want to use it for circles. So that's the big one. But again, we just use these to cut out the corner pieces, and I'll show you how we do all of that. All right, so I'm going to set these aside because we don't need these. And we are going to go ahead and dive right in to get everything started on making the project. Now this one was really cute because I did this with a border fabric. And it just lined up, looks very nice the way the fabric just kind of lined up on the front and on the back, matching it up. So again, you're going to have all the materials that you need to be able to make this project. And it has a little bit of prep work till you finally get to sewing it all together. So you got to get all the prep work done before we actually can get to the part of putting it all together. So I'm going to go through all the steps of what you need to do. All right, so I'm going to set all of this aside. And I'm going to tell you that the first thing that you're going to need to do is iron all of your fabrics. You want to get them all nice and flat. And I'm going to give you some hints that there might not be in the instructions, but I'm going to have them for you here. One of the things I recommend doing when you're ironing all of your pieces is be sure to add some starch to them. I think particularly on the lining piece, because with the exterior piece, it is fused onto the fusible, which is giving it some stability. But the lining piece, it has nothing but bias going across that top. So it has a tendency to stretch a little bit, and I've got a cute little hint that I'll talk to you about on that when we get to that point. But what you're going to do is, first thing is you're going to get all of your fabrics and you're going to get them nice and ironed for all that. Before I go into that, here's some tools that I think you're going to need. You're going to need clips, absolutely. You're going to need some clips, and I recommend even getting some of your heavy-duty, larger clips that are really good and strong, because there's a section that I need for you to really have a nice, tight grip on. You're going to need some pins. You're going to need some tweezers, some churning tools, something to press things out. You're going to need, of course, your rotary cutter. I found a pressing ham worked very well for in instance on this, and a chalk. I'm using chalk because you've got to mark something onto your exterior piece. So I'm just using a piece of this chalk here, or a marking tool. Be sure to get one that will easily come out. And of course, I'm at the Martelli zipper pull right here, so it helps you with your zipper installations, and you'll see me doing that today also. So these are all the things. I got a tape measure here. You might want to be using a tape measure. So these are mainly the tools. Of course, you're going to need your basic supplies, coordinating threads, of course, your sewing machine and scissors, all kinds of things that you're going to need basics for your for doing this project. And then, of course, you know, a zipper foot. But there's a couple of things that I'm doing that a zipper foot would not work. It works better to have your regular foot instead of a zipper foot. And you'll see that when we get to that point. All right, so again, let's go back to the fabric. So let's get our fabrics all pressed and ironed out. And for your exterior piece and then for your lining piece, I need for you to do this at the very beginning. Before you do any of your cutting, you're going to go to the end where your selvages are. So here's my selvages on my piece right here. And I am going to go ahead and I am going to trim off my selvage. Now this piece is with a fabric by 12 inches. So I need to trim off the selvages that are here on the end. So I've kind of got my fabric all lined up. I've got it nice and pressed. And I'm going to remove the selvage off of this piece right here. Now you're going to use pretty much every bit of this if you're going to be doing the pocket. So I'm going to just line this up on one of my lines here, and I'm just going to whack off right here the selvage. I don't need this part. It's going to be in my way. So get that off, and that's your scraps. So then I need for you to go over 6 inches. And I've got my fabric folded, so I'm cutting off 6 inches off of both ends. This is what I'm going to be using for my pocket, and I'm also going to be using it for our tabs for the zipper, and we're going to also be using it for the tabs, the pull tabs on the side. So go ahead and take 6 inches off of, well, with the fabric folder, you're going to be taking 2 pieces off. So I'm going to go to the 6-inch mark, and I'm going to remove 6 inches right here off the end. Make sure everything's lined up, lining up here and on the side, and we're going to take 6 inches off. And what you have left for the medium size is what I'm going to need to make the main body. So here's my 2 6-inch pieces right here. You're going to need those, so just kind of set them aside. And then here is what we're going to use to be able to cut out the main body part. So I'm going to go ahead and keeping it folded. Now I'm turning it where I've got the fold toward me and the cut away from me, and I'm going to fold it up. We're going to cut both pieces at the same time. So I'm just lining it up. I'm getting my template. And of course the template has our cut lines right here, so it makes it easier for you to use your rotary cutter. And I'm just centering it, lining my fold up against, there's going to be a double fold here. So fabric is doubled, as you can see, doubled. And I'm just folding the fold up, so it's doubling. I'm going to be able to cut out both pieces at the same time. So you need 2 pieces for the exterior or the main body, and then you're going to need 2 pieces for the lining. So I'm going to just get this on here, line it up right here on the fold. And then we're going to go ahead and get this cut. Always keep your fingers away. Don't pull on this. You don't want it to snag the fabric, so I'm just going to hit that right there. So here are my 2 pieces for the exterior of the bag. You're going to do that for your exterior, and then you're going to also do that for the lining. So you would need to also take off the 6 inches off of it. And I think I actually got one already over here started. So I'm going to grab this one here. So I got one cut, so we're going to go ahead and just cut the other one. Well, I'm going to go ahead and cut off the 6 inches that I need for the lining on this one, because I've already cut off one, so I'm going to cut the other one off, because you would cut off 2. So I'm going to get my 2 6-inch pieces of the lining and 2 6-inch pieces of the exterior. So it's going to be 6, so they'll be 6 by 12, but we're going to trim those down in a minute. Now, if you're not going to do the pockets, then I wouldn't worry about this part right here. So here's my piece for the pocket, and again, this is very well starched. And then I've got to cut one more for my lining. So I'm just folding it in half. And I'm going to go ahead and just lay my template on here and get this cut out. All right, so you'll need 2 for the lining, 2 for the exterior. And then here's my pieces for the pockets, so I'll set those aside. Let's go ahead and get our fusible done. So you can do it 2 different ways. You can take your fusible with the glue side up, and then you could lay your exterior piece on top, fuse it, and then trim it out, sort of like what I'm going to be doing right here. Like you could do this like here, or I'm going to show you another way. You can go ahead and use the template and get it cut out. And here's going to be hint number 1 that I recommend you doing. So here I've got my fusible in front of me, and I'm going to go ahead and cut one of these out. I'm getting my template here. You got to cut out 2. Now it won't cut all the way through because there's a lot of layers right here. So I got to get my scissors out, and I'm going to trim this away right here. But we're going to do some more trimming on this. Now you can take this piece and you can go ahead and just lay this and have this glued right here to your exterior piece, just like this, and set this on here. But we're going to do one more thing. And before I forget, when you're cutting out all of your pieces, I need for you to mark your centers. So while it's still folded, before you open them back up, I need for you to mark your centers. This is very important for all 4 pieces. So when it's folded, after you lift up your template, go ahead and just take a little nip off the top and off the bottom. You're going to need these center marks right here. You're needing these pieces. They're very important when we're doing the project. And then for your lining, go ahead and do that one for your lining also. So let me grab the one I had done for the lining, which is still folded. I'm going to smooth it out, and we're going to get that one nipped. It's very, very important to mark your centers on the lining and on the exterior fabric. These points right here. It's going to help you later. All right, so when you're doing going to get ready to where you're going to attach the exterior to your fusible, I'm going to go ahead and mark my centers on this one too. I'm not doing the bottom because I'm going to tell you why. On this one here, I found it was better if I go ahead and shorten it up a little bit. So what I am going to do is off of the straight side, off both sides, and off of these where we're going to be doing our boxing, our corners, and off the bottom, I want you to trim an additional 1/4 inch off of each side. So with the piece I have in front of me, I'm just going to kind of eyeball about 1/4 inch, and I'm going to trim off around all these straight edges, not doing the curve. I want that to still be on the very top. But these side pieces, it's going to help it lay a little bit flatter. So I'm just going to take 1/4 inch off on this side, flip it around, and I'm going to take 1/4 inch off this side. And it's not rocket science. You don't have to be perfect. Just you want to get some of this excess off. It's going to help it lay a little bit flatter when we go to sew it. So let's take this off the bottom. And then I want to take off 1/4 inch off these areas here. So you're going to do that to both pieces of your fusible. Do that prior to ironing it on there. And this piece right here. Okay, so it shortened it down a little bit. So then when you go to lay your material on here, so I've got my exterior piece with the wrong side up, and I'm going to line up that notch up on top, and I'm going to line up that curve, and I want to be able to see where I've got the fabric going all the way around, and then we're going to go press this down. So you're going to do that to both of your pieces. Before we go any further into that, before we start going all into the pressing, let's do some more prep work. Let's do our pockets. All right, so our pocket pieces, for the medium, my pocket size is, let me see, I've got it on here. I did the pockets for the medium 6 by 9.5 inches. So you're going to take both of your pieces and you're going to literally cut off a 2.5 inch strip off the edges. So keeping them lined up. If I just take 2.5 inches off my big piece right here, it's going to get it to that 9.5 that I need for it to be. It's already at 6 inches, so I'm just taking 2.5 inches off of one side on each of them. These two pieces will become the side pull tabs, and then they will also become the zipper tabs. So you're going to need these right here. And here's your pocket pieces. If you're going to be making the pocket, be sure to go ahead and do that for your lining. You're just going to go ahead and, I'm not needing the 2.5 inches off of it, but because it's exactly the same size, I'm just going to go ahead and just take the 2.5 inches off on both of them. And these are going to be the back of your pockets. So you're going to place them right sides together, stitch all the way around, and leave an opening. Now here's another hint for you. If you want your pocket to have a little bit more body to it, then I recommend adding a little bit of the SF-101 or the woven or non-woven interfacing onto the back of your exterior piece, or the pretty fabric, not the lining piece, and it will give it just a little more body. And I actually have one of them right here where I have got the SF-101 on it. So I just got the SF-101, it's just giving it a little more strength, and then you're going to just take your lining piece and you're going to place them right sides together, and you're going to stitch all the way around, and we're going to leave an opening. So here's where you might want to go ahead and do some clipping. So you got to figure out to me which side is my top. So this is my top for me. So I'm going to put my clips across the top. I'm just getting this one prepped. There's a lot of prep work before we actually get into where we put everything together. So I'm just putting some clips in here just to hold it in place. You can clip it, you can pin it. I'm going to grab my red ones because these are my openings. That I'm going to have right here. And you're going to sew 1/4 inch all the way around on your pocket. You're going to do it for both of them. And then once you get that done, you're going to set them aside. So right now this is part of our sewing and our pressing, so I'm just going to set that one up there. I don't need the 2.5 inch that I cut off the lining because I am using these two pieces right here. So these are my, again, the tabs for the zipper and the tabs for the bag. So I'm going to just set those there. We're going to be doing some ironing with those. Now here's the last hint that I wanted you to know about. On the lining pieces, there is a lot of stretch that goes on right here. When you're sewing this to your zipper part, I found that this had a tendency to stretch only because it didn't have anything that hold it to keep it stable. So by accident, I found that if I take some of my SF-101 and I add a little strip to it, it gave it some stability. Do you see what I had done right here? I just ironed a little strip of the SF-101 right here on the top. So how did I do that? So I took a piece of the SF-101, I have it over here, and I just needed a little bit. So this is where I'm going to use the template again. So I take the piece and I kind of have it folded in half because I'm going to follow that curve just like I did for when we cut out the template, but I only need a little bit. So I'm going to set this on the fold of the SF-101 right here, and I'm going to create that first arc. Got it on the fold. I've got my I got the SF-101 folded in half, and I'm going to follow this, and then I'm going to go ahead and trim it down. So now I know it's just going to be the same size as the lining piece. Then I'm just going to take my template and I'm going to slide it down about 1/2 inch. You see that? Just slid it down 1/2 inch. And I'm going to go ahead and now trim this off. And this is what I'm going to iron onto my lining piece to give it that stability on the top so it won't stretch. Even though I starched it, I still had that little bit of a pull on it. But by doing this, it made it a little bit stronger. So when we go to do our ironing, we'll go ahead and have that little piece ironed on right there. So I'm going to set that up there. Working through all of our little prep work. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and get your zipper. You're going to take your zipper and you're going to trim it down to 14 inches. Now if you want to be sure that's the size that it's going to be, you've got to measure from here to here. So what is that measurement from here to here? You got it. The zipper needs to be 1 inch smaller than this length right here. So taking my tape measure, it is 15 inches. So I need my zipper to be 14 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and trim up my zipper to 14 inches. I get this one's already trimmed, so this one's at the 14 inches, so it's good to go. And we're going to go ahead and take our long strap, which is 2 yards. Put your 2 ends together, and you're going to find the exact middle. And it twisted on me, so I don't want it to be twisted. So you want your middle because we're going to cut it in half because this will be your 2 straps. You're going to use every bit of it. So just sliding it down, finding my exact middle, and we're going to clip this in half. If you have a lighter nearby, you can go ahead and kind of maybe burn those edges right there so it doesn't fray on you. And you can do that on both sides. Just a little touch. Doesn't take much. There we go. All right, so I think this is just about all the prep work that we need to do. So let's go ahead and go to the ironing station, and we're going to get some of this ironing done, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do some marking. We got lots of ironing here. So grab your 2 tabs, your lining, and if you're going to put a little bit of SF-101 on it, and then your fusible fleece with your exterior piece. We're going to get all these ironed and ready to go. So we're going to start with our exterior piece. That's going to take the longest. So I'm putting it with the fabric down, wrong side up. And I'm going to lay my fusible with the glue side down, and I'm going to match up that notch that I had made in it to my center. I want the edges to match up on the curve on the top, and I want to be able to see a 1/4 inch going all the way around on the inside. Before I press it down, I'm going to smooth it out, make sure everything's totally smoothed out. Go ahead and set the center. Take a look at it again, making sure everything is lining up. I want my top, I want the curve to line up, and I want to be able to see the fabric on the outside. If you have it the way you want, then let's go ahead and just get it set down. This is such a pretty fabric. I could see if you want to do some detail stitching on here to make these florals just pop. Again, the sky's the limit on whatever you want to do. I'm just getting everything all set in here because we got lots of work to do on this before we even get to where we're putting our zipper and everything in. So you're going to do this to both of your pieces. Making sure you get your edges really good. I kind of like to go around, make sure everything's looking like it's all stuck. And that's really good. Now here's my lining piece. And this is the one I starched it. I gave it a good heavy dose of starch. But I found that it still stretched a little bit. So by doing this little hint, this little strip, it's going to make it lay so much better. It will hardly move at all. It's just reinforces that edge and it gets sewed in. So I'm just lining it up against that curve that you had just cut. And then we're going to just tap this on. Just a little hint we kind of discovered by accident, and I just saw how much it really worked. And that's why I figured why it was stretching so much, because it doesn't have a stabilizer on it like the exterior fabric does. And I'm going to go ahead and mark my little, nip that little corner, so that little centerpiece, so I can still see that. All right, so that's those two pieces. So let's go to our little pieces for our tabs. So these are going to do sort of like you're doing a binding. You're going to fold them in half and then fold the edges in, and you're going to make a little binding. One of them is going to be for your zipper, and one of them is going to be for your the bag. So I just made my center, and I'm just folding in the two side pieces, folding it in the two long pieces in. You're going to do this to both of the pieces. And then you're going to fold them in half again. Now one of them is going to get immediately stitched. The other one, you're going to hold that one. It's going to be part of the zipper. All right, I already got a couple of them already done. So I just wanted you to see how to do this part right here. You're going to do both of them. And again, one of them is going to get sewed and one of them is not. So let's go back over to our workstation. So we got to sew our pocket. We got to sew our pull tabs, and I think I got them over here already done. So here's the two pieces that I had already did a little bit earlier today. Set those aside. And then we got one more thing we got to cut out, and that is our accent pieces. That's these right here. So you need to cut out 8, but with the strip of fabric that you just got, you can cut out 2 at a time. And we can go ahead and have them cut so that you'll see that they are already right sides together for our sewing. So I've got these 2 pieces. I'm just going to set them aside. That's going to be a little bit later. So you're going to have this long strip. So let me grab the long strip. So here's your long strip that you got in your bag or in your box. I need to have 8, so I can get 4 sets cut out of this. So once you get your fabric all pressed, you're going to go ahead and place it right sides together and line up your edges. Right sides together and line up your edges. Just like that. I set it on one of my lines. Now, if you're going to be doing, say, vinyl, or you're going to put the pleather on the corners. So this is going to be a little bit big because you're going to cut out your 4 pieces. You don't need the 8. You're going to do your 4 pieces. I'm going to grab one of them so you can see the one I did it on, this one right here. So when I did the full size of this onto here, when you're doing it with the fabric, you're sewing it and then you're flipping it out. So you're taking off a 1/2 inch of it. So if I'm going to be doing it with the vinyl, I'd make it slightly smaller. But here's how I want you to use this template to be able to cut all of your pieces out of this right here. You need 4 sets of 2, so it'll be 8 total pieces. With your big piece that you have in front of you, you're going to turn it, like I said, iron it, and then go ahead and fold it right sides together and line up all of your edges. Then you're going to take your template and you're going to set it where you're going to have this straight edge right here at the edge by the selvage. As close to the selvage that you can get without going into the selvages. Over here. And we're going to cut this first one. I have it close to the bottom, but I'm still going to go ahead and trim that bottom piece off just a little bit. You're going to just cut it. Flip it around, trim it, and trim it. And it's ready to go. So stack that one up. You're going to be sewing that one in just a second. Then you're going to take your template and you're going to put the straight edge on the opposite side. And you're going to have that curve kind of button up to the curve that you just cut right here. I'm bringing it down just a little because I want it all to be even on the bottom piece there. Trim this. All right, that's number 2. Two more to go. So now we got another straight edge. So I'm going to bring it back over to me and I'm going to line it up on that straight edge where I have the straight edge in front of me. I'm just going to line it up on that straight edge right there. Cut this one. There's your 3rd set. And now the 4th set. You're going to again rotate the template and you'll be able to fit it right here on the edge. You should be able to get all 8 pieces by just going back and forth if you have it all stretched out, just by going back and forth. All right, so there's all of my pieces and they're already right sides together for us to stitch it. So when you're using the fabric, you're going to be stitching 1/4 inch on this arc right here. You're going to take some pinky shears or some scissors, you're going to clip your curves, and then you're going to flip it out and you're going to press it. Now, if you're going to be accenting with, say, with the vinyl, I recommend that you have it at 1/2 inch in from each side. So if I was going to be, say this is a piece of vinyl and I want this to be on it, I would just slide, here's my fabric, I would have this slid over about 1/2 inch down. So if I'm going to line this up here, I'm going to put my template right here at 1/2 inch in and 1/2 inch down. So because you lose 1/2 inch in your cutting, so this is where I would trim it. So this part is coming off. And you're just shortening it by about 1/2 inch right here. Well, it looks like a little bit more than that, but that's what you're wanting it to be. You want to shiv out because you're losing it right here. So just go ahead and just make it slightly smaller, and that way you don't have to sew the 2 pieces together. It's just a single piece of the vinyl that I had used on this right here. I found when I had the larger one on here, when I kept it the same size, it was just way too big. So I just trimmed it down. But again, it's up to you if you want it to be bigger or if you want it to be smaller or not have the corner pieces on at all. All right, so that is all of these pieces. So these are getting ready to be all sewn. And let's see, we got our pocket ready to be sewn. And then taking a look at these little pieces right here, choose which one you want to be for your tabs for the side, because we're going to sew this whole piece. And I think that's all the sewing that we have right here. So let's go ahead and get started on all of our sewing. Grab your zipper too, because we're going to probably do that while we're sitting over there. I'm going to show you the zipper tape right here. So we're going to be putting these tabs, the one that's not going to get sewed, it's going to be sewn into, this is going to be sewn on each side of this tape. So you can go ahead and cut this in half, but you're going to slide your zipper up into here. But we need to go ahead and stabilize one side before we sew it. So before we even put our zipper pull slider on, I need to do a stitch right here. So on one end, I need for you to sew across these, just to secure the teeth, about 1/4 inch in on one side. And then we're going to slide it into our zipper pull. And then we're going to attach it, we're going to stitch it here, and we're going to stitch it here. Not across, but right here on the edges. Right here on the edges. So we'll take that with us too. We'll do that while we're at the machine. All right, so gather up all of our pieces. We are going to start getting our sewing. I'm just going to sew two of these, because I already got 2 of them done. I'm going to sew our pockets. You'll have 2 pockets. And I'm going to just sew the 2 of these, because I already have 2 done. And we're going to just sew 1/4 inch all the way around. So I have my machine set up on the 1/4 inch setting. And I'm using a black thread, but this would be really nice. After I got it all done, I thought, man, I had a real pretty rainbowy thread that would have went perfect with this. All right, so I'm doing everything in black. So we're just going to go ahead and stitch 1/4 inch all the way around. And I'm not going to pull it or anything. There's a lot of bias. I'm just letting the machine pull all the fabric through itself. Staying 1/4 inch. Your second one and go ahead and get it done. Again, you're going to do this to all 4 of them. All right, I'm just going to set these aside. We're going to go ahead and go to our pocket. I'm going to my red clips here. This is where I know I need to start. And back tack right there. So we're going to sew 1/4 inch all the way around. Be sure to back tack. More stitch. And then sew to the other red. All right. Finish that in just a second, and then we're going to grab one of our 2.5 by 6 inch strips, and we're going to do 1/4 or 1/8 inch stitch down both sides of just one of these tabs. So I'm going to increase by stitch length to around 300. And I'm going to start with my little leader, and we're going to stitch it down on both sides, 1/8 inch. All right, put it back on my regular stitch count. I'm going to grab my zipper tape, and on one side, doesn't matter which side, I'm going to go ahead and sew 1/4 inch back and forth across this zipper tape. You're going to kind of go slow. Be sure you got to use a zipper tape that is sewable, because this is going to secure this on one end, and then we'll do it on the other end after we get the zipper in there. So I'm just going to just sew about 1/4 inch in. Let me get my leader first. Likes to get hung up on there. I'm going to go right over that zipper, and I'm going to go back and forth over it just a couple of times so I know it's not going to come undone. So we have one side done. Now I'm going to, here's where I want you to see how we do the zipper tape tabs. So here's the piece that you had just done that you did not sew, it down. Go ahead, and if you want, go ahead and fold it and just cut it in half, because you're going to need each piece for one piece for one side. You're still going to trim it down even further. So I'm going to take the piece, I'm going to open it up, I'm going to take my zipper that I just stitched down, and I'm going to slide this in and have it butted up against the edge there. Then I'm going to take a clip, and I'm going to just clip it. So you want to make sure that it's not angled funny, that it's just straight, just like that. Now we're going to stitch on the sides. So where we're going to stitch is right here, on this very edge, right on the very edge of the zipper tape, on both sides. About 1/8 of an inch in, and 1/8 of an inch in on this way. We're not going across, we're just stitching here, and we're stitching here. So here's what I found worked really well with the foot that I have on my machine. Without having to change to a zipper foot, I just put my needle in the middle, and I'm dropping my foot. It's going to drop down right there beside the zipper tape. It's right there beside the zipper tape. And I found if I just have it right there in the middle, it's actually going to catch it right there on that edge. So I'm just going to go forwards, and I'm going to go back. And it caught it right there. It's on that tape. So now I'm going to take my clip off and not even really turn it around, because my needle is in the middle. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just drop my foot down. It's going to ride up against that zipper tape, and it's going to be catching right there on the edge of this tape. So I'm going to just sew down, back. This is just holding it in place. You will not see these stitches when we go to put the zipper tape in. And that's what we're looking for, right there. If you want, you can go ahead and trim this up to up against that edge, or just over from it. So this side is ready, because when we go to sew this, when we do the zipper, we'll be doing a top stitch, and we'll be coming across right here. So we're not going to have a double row of stitching right here. And all of this will be hidden. You won't even see it. All right, so that's that part. So we got to still do the zipper, but we're going to keep the other piece with your zipper. And while you're at it, you can go ahead and take this piece that you just stitched down both sides, fold it in half, because this is actually going to be 2 of the pulls. You're going to need one for one side and one for the other. So with that 6-inch piece, you're going to just go ahead and just trim it, fold it in half. And now you have the 2 that you're going to need. Now you could add a D-ring to this, and then we could attach it with the D-ring, but I'm just going to use it as the pulls. So here's your 2 pulls now for each side of the bag, of the main body. So let's go back to our accent pieces. And we either got to clip these, or you can grab some pinking shears. And you're just going to go ahead and just pink these all around. Just don't get too close if you don't want to, because you're going to push it out. So go ahead and release this tension. You can clip it with your scissors, but you're going to do it to all 4 pieces. And it's going to lay nice and flat when we go to push it out, and then sewing it onto the exterior body of the bag. So we're just doing this. A little bit more right there. Okay. So do that to both the pieces. Now let's go over to the ironing station because we're going to flip this out and we're going to go and get it pressed, and then we're going to go ahead and get these pressed. So with your pocket, if you're doing the pockets, be sure to clip your corners. Be sure to not get too close to your stitches. Get all that excess material so you have a nice crisp corner. And then go ahead and turn it right side out and push out your corners. Do this to both of your pocket pieces. Be gentle so you don't poke your whatever you're using to press everything out. Don't poke a hole in that. Ask me how I know. Something I have done twice. It's easy to do. Get over anxious and you can just easily poke your tool right through, particularly in those corners where you've trimmed it quite a bit. And we're going to top stitch the top side. We're going to top stitch here, and then when we have this onto our lining, then when we sew this into the lining, we'll do our final stitching all the way around and then our center. I'm just pushing out my edges. You're going to do this to both of the pieces. And you're going to be sure to tuck this in, because this gets sealed when you sew this onto the lining. You're not sewing this at for your top stitching. To me, this is the bottom. The hole for the pocket is going to be on the bottom. So I'm just lining up my edges here. Make sure everything is nice and straight. And then we're going to go ahead and press this. And you're going to repeat this for both of your pockets, making it nice and flat. Just like that. Now if you're going to be sewing a seam down the middle so that you have two pockets, go ahead and take it and fold it in half. Put your right sides together, fold it in half, and create your crease so you'll know where your center is going to be. It'll be easier for you to see. Or you could go ahead and mark it with a chalk line right there. I'm going to take this while it's folded in half and heat and go ahead and press that underneath my block press. So now I'm going to take my two accent pieces and I'm going to push out that curve. Kind of line up my edges and get my turning tool, and I'm going to kind of run it along that edge to push it out as best I can without popping it through. Getting it all pushed out. Lining up all of my edges here. And then you're going to press it. Try to press with the grain of the fabric on the way it's going so you don't stretch or distort it. I'm going to lay that underneath my press, and we're going to do the last one. I'm going to give it a push out, line up my edges, kind of hold it into place, and then grab my tool and kind of pushing it out, following that curve. And then again, tap it with your iron. edges to be all lined up. And I'm going to set this underneath here. Give it a second. All right, so the next step is going ahead and get our top stitching done on our pocket. So I'm just going to top stitch 1/8 of an inch all the way across here. I'm not worried about this opening on the bottom because that's going to get closed up when we are attaching it to the pocket, which we're going to do absolutely next. All right, so grabbing these, we're going to go ahead and get our top stitch done. And I'm putting it back on my quarter, raising my stitch up to about 300, 320. Using my little leader. I do about a stitch or two in, back tack, and then go all the way across. And a stitch or two back, and then off. Now we're going to get this centered onto our lining. So grabbing the lining piece that you don't have your pocket on. Now it's up to you where you want the pocket to be, but I'm going to grab the one where I had done earlier because I kind of want them to be the same. So on this one here, I think I came down from the very top. I believe I came down 2.5 inches. I believe that's what that is. Nope, it's a little bit more. It is, looks like 2 3/4 is what I did. I came down 2 3/4 inches from the top. So I'm going to take my fake piece and I'm going to set it on one of my lines. So I got my center here, and I'm running it where I have it on one of my lines. So I've got it on my 8 line. And I've got this part right up here lined up with, it's on my mat, it's on the 11. So it looks like I came down again. I'm trying to see, but I believe I came down 1, 2 3/4. I'm 2 3/4 down from this very top. So we're going to go 1, 2 3/4. So that's going to put me at 8 1/4 on here. Keeping it centered just like that. With my chalk, I'm just going to kind of mark it. Then I'm going to take my piece, and I know where my center is right here, and I'm going to line that up on that center. Now you could go ahead and fold this, give yourself a better mark all the way down. You can also take your ruler and mark it. If you feel like you need to have a little bit of more of a mark. But I'm just going to set this right there and right there. I had folded this in half, so I've got that crease right there in that spot. And then, so I want to make sure that they kind of match up. I'm going to take the first one and lay it on top. And I'm going to kind of take a peek back and see if they line up just the same. And it's right where I want it to be. When you have it set to where you need for it to be, then you're going to grab some pins. And I'm just going to kind of pin it into place. Kind of can't clip this, so we're going to kind of pin it into position. And we're going to stitch all the way around, about 1/8 of an inch to secure this. And then you'll have that done. And then I'm going to go ahead and stitch down the center. Back tacking here, stitching all the way down, and then back tacking at the bottom. And it will close up the opening that's down here. Before we get into that, let's go ahead and get our prep work done on our lining. on our exterior piece. So going back to where I am sitting, and grab your straps, because this is where you're going to be needing your straps. You're going to need your ruler, and you're going to need your chalk stick for this. Now this one, on the exterior piece, I have it 2 inches on this side. I'm going to draw a line 2 inches on this side and 2 inches on this side. Or you can grab your 4-inch ruler. I have the Martelli 16 by 4, so it's 4 inches. So it is 4 inches between the tape, and I'm going to show you on this one right here. What we're doing is we're going to go ahead and attach the strap onto here. And it's 4 inches from here to here. And here's my little bit of a chalk line that's right in here. So it's 2 inches from center. So I've got where we had marked it for our centers on our exterior piece, top and bottom. So I know I'm going to go 2 inches from center on both sides. So if I take my 4-inch ruler, I can line it up and be at that 4 inches total right here, or you can just go ahead and go 1, 2, keeping everything nice and straight. Got this on a straight line. 2 inches from center. So once I have that there, this is where I'm going to grab my chalk from the bottom all the way almost up to the top. I am not going to mark probably, I mean you can, but I'm just going to mark about 2 inches from the top. And then if you're using the 4-inch ruler, you're going to do it on the other side. Just draw in your chalk line. This is your straight line that you're going to be setting your webbing on, your strap webbing. That is going to be your guide. Now we need to have a stopping point for where we stop stitching. On here, this is where I wanted it to be the same on both sides. So on the middle, it's 2 inches from the very top. So I'm going to line up, I'm going to take this point and I'm going to have it on one of my straight lines going across. So I'm making sure that my sides are even, that my line here is still centered on what line I have it on, but I want this to be on the top here. So now I'm going to draw a line that is horizontal. That's going to be 2 inches from this point right here. So I'm on the 12, so I'm going to go down to the 10. And I'm going to set my ruler on here on the 10, going all the way across. And if I am looking at this on the center, if this is at the very top and I am 2 inches down, it looks like you're going 3/4 of an inch down from the points here down. But we're only needing to mark a little line right here because this is just a stop stitching mark that you're going to need. It's just a guide. It's just a guide for you. So I take my chalk and I can see where I had drawn the lines that was the verticals. So from that vertical line, I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of trace it right here. So I got my horizontal here, and I got my vertical. So that's my stop stitch marks right here. Now I'm going to take my strap and make sure it's not twisted. And I'm going to bring it down, and I'm going to line it up on the bottom, my straight edge on the bottom, and I'm lining it up against that straight line right here, the vertical line that goes up and down. Now I'm going to put a clip here in the bottom just to hold it into place. And I see where my chalk line is right here. So I'm going to take a pin and I'm going to pin this on above that line because I'm going to pivot. I'm going to come up, come to that line, come over, and then come back down. So I'm going to sew 1/8 of an inch along the edge, going across on that line, and then coming back down. And then we're going to do it on the other side, making sure nothing's twisted. I'm going to go ahead and line this up on the bottom, making it straight here, looking for my straight edge here. Put a clip on the bottom. keeping everything straight, making sure nothing is being puckered. Grabbing a pin, and I'm going to go ahead and pin this on the top. Now we're going to stitch this. So we're going to start on one side, stitch, come to the line, come across, rotate it. If you want, you can go back and forth a little bit right here to add a little bit more strength, and then I'm just going to stitch it down on this side, and then I'm going to do it on the other side. And you're going to do that to both of your pieces. So that's stitching they're going to be doing. So let's go over to the, to the machine. We're going to stitch our pocket down, and we're going to stitch one of our straps down. And you're going to repeat this for both sides and for both of your pocket pieces. All right, so let's start with our pocket since I got that right in front of me. Trim away my threads. I have it on, I think I'm going to put this at 2.5. We're going to do 1/8 of an inch all the way around. I'm going to back tack here, go all the way around. I could do a little bit of back tack when I'm at that corner. And come up the last side. Take my pins out. I'm going to go ahead and sew that center. Put my needle in the center. And we're going to back tack at the bottom and then work our way to the top in the center. Alright, so that one gives you 2 little pockets. But I could see you could make this go all the way across. It could be a pocket that goes all the way across the base there. Alright, so that piece is done. So you're going to repeat that for both of your pocket pieces. Now we're going to go ahead and get our straps on. I'm doing this one at 1/8 of an inch, and I'm making sure that it's still straight across the bottom and that this edge is going to be right there on that chalk line. I'm coming up to the chalk line that I see. Now I'm just going to go across, straight across, and I'm going to kind of back tack on this right here. And now we're going to go ahead and stitch it down the other side. And you got one side done, now let's do the other. right, so you got both of these done. Go ahead and take my pins out, got my clips out. So now let's go ahead and do our accent pieces. So you're going to have this done to all your pieces. You'll have your once you get your pocket on here, then we're done with this for a minute. So just kind of set it aside. Because we've got one more thing that we have to do to the main exterior body piece. And that is where we add our accent pieces right here. So get the two that you had sewn, or all four pieces, and you're going to line these onto here. So I'm going to give you a couple ideas that I do. So I'm lining up my raw edges, and my curve is going in here. So what I'm looking to do is line up this edge here with this edge here. Now that might not be just perfect, but it will come out all right in the end, I promise you. So once you get it to where it's lined up straight against this edge, is straight against this edge here, I'm not even paying attention to this corner because this is going to be all clipped away. I'm looking at this edge here and this edge here. When I have it lined in, I'm going to put a clip here. And I'm going to put a clip over here. And you could put a couple in if you want. I'm just going to clip it down. And then we're going to get our other side done. Same thing, we're just going to line up the edges here and here. It doesn't matter which way you turn them, they're the exact same. If you wanted to have it where it be higher and then taller, you could easily just trim away some of this edge and it'd be tall. If you want it to be not as high here but shorter and more longer here, you could just change up the shape of this accent piece. It's whatever you want to do. So I'm keeping it nice and flat, and I'm making sure all of my edges are lined up here. I'm going to put a couple of clips right here. So we still got to trim it. So this is where we are so far. You're going to do this on both of your pieces. Now you're going to stitch it a quarter of it or an eighth of an inch all the way down on both pieces. And now here's a hint. You don't have to do this, but I found it made it a little bit more stable. Once I had this stitched on here, then I flip it over and I'm going to do a stitch here. I'm just going to do this little stitch just to secure this area right here. It just kind of secures it a little bit by just doing that. Because then we're going to cut this we're going to cut this out right here on those lines, right here on the edges here. Just kind of secured it a little bit because that's a lot of material right there when you're going to make your, when you're boxing all your corners. So it just kind of keeps everything stable. So do that to both of the pieces. You can see where I had done it on this one. Got my stitching done, and then I stitched it right here, here, and here. I did that before I clipped out that black. Just made it a little bit more stable. All right, so let's go ahead and get this stitched down, because once we get all of this part done, now we're at the zipper part. When you're doing the zipper and you get that part done, then you're almost done with the bag, I promise. It goes pretty quick after that. Still got to finish our zipper. We've got one more side to do with the zipper. All right, so we're going to do, again, an eighth of an inch all the way around. I still have it set up for that. My little leader. And just take your time and go all the way around. We'll get to the other side. All right, now we're going to flip it over. We're going to do that little bitty stitching I was telling you about. Smoothing everything out, and I'm just going to stitch it down right inside that edge right there. Stay in pretty close to the edge because it's in your seam allowance. You don't want this stitching to be showed up. So not a 1/4 inch, just catching the edge. Slinging them, slinging them everywhere. You know, got my little bag is over there, my little storage box for my clips. Just catching the edge. All right, you're going to do that to both pieces. All right, so let's go back to the cutting table. I'm going to grab up all of these clips that are just floating around and get them back in the box or in the little my little bowl over here. And we're just going to go ahead and clip, following the edge of my fabric, just clip away that excess black right there. And then do it to the other side. All right, so now this is all ready. So you got this done. We've done it to the other piece. Got both of your lining pieces with the pockets done. Now let's take our little tabs and we'll insert these. So I'm just going to do it on one of them. So I go up to the edge right here. I am going to just fold this in half about, I'm going to fold my little tab in half. Let me find my piece. This is the one. This is the unsewn one. So it's the one that you've done your stitching on. I'm folding it in half. And I'm bringing my point to one of my lines, and I'm bringing it down about 3/4 of an inch down from that point right there. Not a half, I think a full inch is too much, so I'm bringing it down where this edge is about 3/4 of an inch. And I'm just going to put a clip right there and hold it. And then I'm going to do it to the other side. Get my tab, fold it in half. Coming down about 3/4 of an inch right here. I'm going to put a clip right there. Before we do the zipper, I'm going to go ahead and baste this on so it stays secure. So I'm just going to put just a couple of stitches right here, about 1/8 of an inch in on both sides. It's kind of going to hold it without having the clips on here because you've got a lot of movement that you're going to be doing in a minute. So let's just do a little basting stitch right here. And I don't want this to shift on me, because if I go at the very edge, it's going to push it, it's going to shift it. So I do my stitching, I start right there in the middle of that tab. Drop my feet down right here, and then I'm going to take a couple stitches forward, a couple stitches back, and then go back over it. When I do that, it keeps from that tab sometimes shifting on you. nice and straight. Do that to the other side. Make sure your edges are lined up nice and even. Same thing, drop the foot down in the middle of the tab first. About 1/8 of an inch away, your needle, and then start sewing forwards and backwards. Just doing it quick. It's just holding it in place. It's going to be all, that seam, that little stitch is going to be seen in the seam allowance when we do our 1/4 of an inch, because this is less than 1/4. Do that on both of these pieces. Promise you're going to like that, then having to fiddle with it with the clips. All right, so now that we've got every bit that we can possibly do on our exterior and on our lining, so now we got to finish our zipper part. So grabbing the piece that is not sewn, that's going to be the other tab on the other side. This is where you're going to want to grab your zipper pull, and you're going to get your zipper. You're going to take your zipper. If you're using one of the Martelli tools, you're just going to place this in where it's like this. So you're going to see the bottom of the zipper here. Now on the other side, you're going to open it up 3 or 4 inches. I find this better without my rings. And I'm going to flip this over. Since I have this upside down, this has got to go in upside down. So then I'm just going to take these 2 pieces, and we're going to just slide them in here and try to make it as even as I can. Till we get it to connect. And I'm not great with this. You know me and zippers. But once I get it started, I'm going to get it down just a little bit, slip it out. I'm going to look and see if it's even, and that's pretty good. That's right where I want it to be. Now I got my zipper tape on there. Now just like we did on the other side, on the first side, I'm going to open my unsewn zipper tape tab. I'm going to put my zipper right up there against that seam, the middle seam, and then I'm going to fold this over. Making sure that it is nice and straight right here. And then I'm going to put a clip right there on the teeth part. It's just holding it in place until I can get over to the sewing machine. And just like we did on this side, we're going to stitch it down here and here. And then we'll be ready to go. There's my extra zipper pull. Okay, let's get this stitched down. Because once this is done, now we're going to start installing the zipper. Right, so we're going to put my foot back in the middle. And just like I had done before, I drop the foot down right here. And it's going to be right there on the edge of my tape. And then I'm going to go forward a couple stitches and then back. And it's securing it on that side. And we're just going to slide it over because, again, no, my needle is in the middle. We'll drop it down and we're going to stitch it across. Same thing we did on the other side. These stitches will not be seen. All right, so now we're getting ready to install our zipper. So zipper tape, zipper pull is all ready to go. You can go ahead and trim it on the sides. Right here. And here. All right, so let's get our zipper on. Now grab you a bunch of clips because this is where the fun begins. Grab your zipper, let's find our middle. So we're going to match up our edges here, fold it all the way down, find our centers. So once the zipper is folded in half, I want you to do a little notch on this side and a little notch on the other side of the zipper tape. Quick hint on zippers. When you're sewing the zipper, I always thought we needed to get our foot as close to the zipper tape as possible. But we literally, if you notice on the zipper tape, there's kind of a thicker line that's about 1/4 of an inch away. You really want to be stitching in this area right here, not all the way up against the zipper teeth. You want to be more stitching right here. I didn't know that, and it actually looks a lot better by doing that, and I'll show you that on this very first one I had done. I think it's this one right here. I am right, my stitching is so close to that zipper tape right here. I am beyond that little area that you're supposed to be stitching right here. But by taking it and bringing it out just a little bit, I found that I'm not fighting the foot going around the zipper slider, and it just, to me, it just looks a little bit nicer, and it kind of makes this pop a little bit better by having just a little bit more of a distance between your stitching and the zipper teeth. So I kind of thought that was something interesting in me watching all these zipper videos, which I've watched a bunch. All right, so let's get started on getting everything done. So we found our center. So we're going to take our zipper tape. We got our piece in front of us, right side up. And then we're going to match up our center with the center here on the exterior piece. We're not doing the lining yet. We're matching up where we did our 2 centers, and we're going to put a clip there. Now, if you trimmed it correctly, as you follow this all the way down, you should find that you are a 1/2 inch from the edge. About a little over, it should be at least a 1/2 of an inch from the edge of the zipper tape to the edge of the exterior piece. That's what you want it to do. So let's go ahead and put some clips in here just to secure it, hold it in place. And it is right at that 1/2 inch that I need for it to be. And then we're going to get the other side done. Not stretching or pulling, just letting it fall where it falls. And it should also be a 1/2 of an inch from the edge, just like that. I need to make this a little straighter right here. Half of an inch. And put a clip in. Now we're going to grab our lining where you had just clipped it, taking my center right here, and I'm going to match it up with my center here. So I'm taking that clip back out, lining up my center and clipping it. And now I'm just going to re-clip, now with my lining right side down. And you'll find that the lining is going to match up right at the edge of the fabric of your exterior piece. So I'm just re-clipping all the way down. I like to add a clip at that very bottom, at the edges. So now we're going to stitch this all the way down. And this is where I like to switch to my zipper foot. And we're just going to stitch a 1/4 inch, or right there on this edge. I'm following the edge. It's going to be all the way down. So I'm not going to really have my zipper foot riding right up here. It's going to be more away from it, but it's going to be in the position I need for it to be. Let's see, I grab my zipper foot. Now I'm wondering if I had that here. Let's just try this. If I dropped my foot right here, I would have to reposition my stitch needle over to about the 2. Right, we're just going to not do that. We're going to put the zipper foot on. Go to my zipper settings. So I have this on, and this is where you might want to grab your tweezers, because it might shift a little bit under here. You want to keep everything all lined up and even. So this is where you might want to grab some tweezers for this part. So we're going to start right here on this edge, and I'm going to have my needle set for a right side of sewing. So you're going to be 1/4 of an inch. Looks like from here. When I have this set on my machine, I have it on what's called lap zipper, and I have it on the setting right side. So I'm lining everything up against this edge of the zipper foot. I'm going to do a couple stitches right here, back tacking. And I'm going to pull out these clips and keeping everything lined up right here. So I might have to pull that zipper tape out just a little bit because it shifted a little, but keeping everything on that edge. All right, my zipper, I'm going to slide it down. Get my zipper tape out, keeping everything all lined up on that edge. And even with that little bit of seam tape on there, it still wants to stretch just a little bit, but it all works out in the end, I promise. All right, so we got one side done. Now let's go ahead and get the other side attached on. I'm going to grab my clips. We're going to get the other side stitched on. We don't top stitch yet. That gets done at the end. You might want to go ahead and kind of give this a finger press, pushing everything down. You're going to give this a little bit of a press anyway when we go to do our, before we do our top stitching, but just giving it a finger press just kind of gets it out of the way a little bit. All right. Now we're going to go ahead, trying to figure out which way. I think we can do it this way. Still having my exterior piece here. Now I'm going to grab my zipper tape again, and I'm just going to have it sandwiched in between. So I'm going to line up my notches there in the center, put a clip there, and then again, just like I did on the front, I'm just going to just follow this all the way to the edge, lining everything up at the edge, and you'll see again it's going to be 1/2 of an inch from the edge on the other end. And then grabbing your lining, your other lining, you're going to place it right, you're going to also bring it now right side down and just match it up where your centers were. Just matching it all up, just like you did earlier. So starting with the center clip, matching up your centers, and just re-clipping all the way down. Holding it in place, re-clipping. All right, and let's go ahead and get this stitched. And just like we did before, we're going to just start right here, make sure everything just stays on the edge. Have your tweezers in hand. Gotta reposition the zipper. There's a tendency to shift right there. Here we go. Last little bit. Okay, so now we have that all done. I'll go ahead and close this zipper. So the next thing we got to do is we're going to do our top stitching on this right here. So you kind of want to give this a good finger press, pulling out the bottom and the top. Give it a good finger press because we're going to top stitch it now. We're going to top stitch, and I like to find a dark spot because I'm using dark thread. So I'll probably start right here. I'm going to pull up my threads right here, do a little back tack, and we're going to go 1/8 of an inch all the way down to where I come to here. We're going to stitch across the zipper teeth right here. This is going to close this opening right here. So you're going to stitch across here. I kind of like back tack a couple times here. Then I come over to here and 1/8 of an inch all the way down this side, come across this, back tack here, and then go back to where we started. And then you'll have this piece all done. So I kind of pull this out as I go, or you could hit it with a iron but we're just going to go ahead and give it a good finger press and kind of pull it as I go. So I like to start, and this is where I think I grab I put my regular foot back on. This is where I have this wider foot, seems to fit right up against that edge, and I just slide the needle over a little bit. So I'm going to go back to my regular sewing. Right now my needle's in the middle, but I'm going to slide my needle over a little bit. So here's a dark spot. This is where I want to be. So I'm pulling out my fabrics on top and bottom. And we're going to start right here on this edge. So I'm going to drop my foot down first. So I want my foot of my sewing be riding along the edge of my teeth. I'm going to grab my thread, I'm going to drop my needle, I'm going to pull my bottom thread up so I don't have a knot on the lining. So drop the needles down, back up, pull my thread up, and then we're going to increase my stitch length, but I need to slide my foot over. So I think I'm going to set this on 2. I think I'm going to put this on the 2. Yeah, so my needle has been slid over to my left, and I have it on the 2. So it looks like it's about 1/8 of an inch, and I've got my foot riding along the teeth. Take a couple stitches forward, and a couple stitches back. And as we're going, I'm going to be pulling and holding everything over and just following it along. You can just kind of feel it. I think I'm going to actually set to where my foot doesn't come up. I want my foot to stay down. Sliding my zipper down. pivot, and I'm going to stitch across now the bottom edge of the zipper tape. I'm going to go over that a couple of stitches, staying in my stitch line. Make sure this is pulled down. I'm going to sew just to where I'm just at that 1/8 of an inch into there. Pivot again. Drop my foot. And now we're just going to follow this side down. Coming up to the other side. About 2 stitches in. Pivot. I'm going to go across and I'm going to carefully stitch a couple, go back and forth right here in that zipper tape and stay within that same stitches. And go back over. Then when I come to the edge, we're going to go 2 stitches in and then pivot. And we're going to meet up to where we started. All right. And now you should have it completely all top stitched all the way around. You take a look at the back side and then at the front, and everything's good to go. So literally all we have left to do is to box our corners, and then you're basically done with the bag. So let's go with the bottom. I'm going to take my 2 exterior pieces. I'm going to line them up, match them up. So on this piece right here, let's go to the table right here. I'll show you what we're going to do. I'm going to partially unzip my bag. You don't want to have it zipped up closed. So you're going to line up your bottom pieces here. And what I'm looking to line up is I am making sure that my little accent pieces line up. So I match those up first. I match up my edges of my accent pieces. And then I clip that. This is why I like to grab my heavy duty clips to hold those. And I do the other one. I'm matching up the bottom curve or accent pieces first. Matching it here and here. Now remember, you want to make sure that it matches up 1/4 of an inch in. And it'll look so much prettier. So matching it up, grab one of my heavier clips, and I'm going to clip that right there. Now we're going to stitch 1/4 of an inch all the way across here. Then we're going to go over to this side. And we're going to stitch this side, the lining side. Same thing, but on the lining, we're going to leave an opening. Now here's an idea. If you want to have this top stitching done right here, don't do this side first. Do this side, and I'll show you. If you was to stitch the lining first and then you stitch this and you want to stitch, you won't be able to do it. If you want to top stitch this right here, the bottom here, have this top stitching here so it'll be nice and flat. It worked without it. But if you want to do that, then you don't stitch the lining first. You'll stitch it and then we'll open it up and I'll show you. But we're not going to stitch it, but I'm just going to show you this is where you would do it. So let's go ahead and stitch this side close. I got the most important areas lined up, and that's the accent pieces. Now I'm going to set my machine back on the 1/4 inch, and we're going to stitch all the way down. I'm going to back tack a little bit. I will not move that clip till I'm right there at it, because I don't want nothing to shift. And all the way to the top. All right, so here's where if you want to do the top stitching. Open up your zipper completely. You haven't stitched your side pieces yet. And you're going to go in here this way from this angle right here. You're going to press this seam open. So it's going to be easier if you just open it up, kind of flatten it out a little bit. And it's a booger to press open the seams because you're fighting that the heaviness of the strapping. So if you were going to stitch that open, you're going to lay this open as best you can. You might want to have one of those rolling presses to press this open. But if you're going to press this open, if you're going to stitch this, top stitch it on both sides of that stitching, you're going to open this up and you're going to find your center and you're going to press this as best as you can flat. And then to stitch this down, you're going to do it from the top side. You're going to open it up like this, have your zipper all the way open, and you're going to go in from this direction right here to be able to do that top stitching on both sides. Here and all the way down. We're not going to do that. All right, so let's go to our lining. So now we're going to stitch our lining, making sure that our zipper is open. We need it to be open for this part. And we're going to leave an opening on the lining. So I'm just lining up my edges here and here. And we're going to just do our 1/4 inch all the way across the bottom, but leaving about a 4-inch opening. You got a lot to push through here. So go give my big opening here. And then stitch the other side. All right, now we're going to do both of the side pieces at the same time. We're not doing one side, not doing the lining, and then we're doing the exterior. We're lining them up at the same time. And we're going to stitch all the way down and all the way down, and then we're going to box our corners. So here's where it gets a little tricky. You're needing to match up. Do you see these two seams where it was a 1/2 inch longer than the zipper tape? It's these seams right here. Here's the zipper tape that you created. And you got these seams right here. So you want to roll this back so the seam is right there in center, just like you have it on this side. Then you're going to, well actually you're not, you're going to match up those seams on both sides, matching them up. And you're going to have this being pushed to the lining. So the zipper tape's going to kind of bend, and it's going to be towards the lining, not towards the exterior. So you're going to match up these seams, and you're going to fold them down towards the lining, and it gets real bulky right here. So once you have it pinched and in place, this is where I say grab one of your heavier clips and clip that, and just clip that spot in. You'll find that everything's going to work out when you go down to the edge of the lining and everything kind of lines up right here. Then you know you pretty much got it in the right position. And before I clip this side, I am lining up my accent curve, matching that curve up first before I go all the way down to the bottom. Because I can correct it here, but I can't change it once I've stitched it there. So So once I got that lined up, then I've clipped it. And then we're going to go to the other side. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to push these two seams toward the lining. So we're going to match up our edges, these two stitch edges right here. When I've got them lined up, I'm going to pinch those seams towards the lining, making sure everything is lining up and clipped, keeping our tab down. Give it a good pinch. Grab one of your stronger clips and clip that and hold that in place so it won't shift. Follow this all the way down. If it lines up pretty close here at the bottom like this one did, then I know I pretty much got it right. So I'm going to put a clip here. And before I clip this, I'm going to match up my accent curve at that 1/4 inch in. Put one of my heavy clips right there. And then we're going to stitch this whole side down. So let's go ahead and get that done. You want to stay as close to that 1/4 inch as possible, no shifting. You only got a 1/2 inch movement there. And it gets real thick and bulky right here, so you want to be very, very careful when you are stitching this. Now I just pulled that clip out, so let's go ahead and get that readjusted. Knit that clip back in there. Okay, we're going to stitch a 1/4 inch on this side and then a 1/4 inch on the other, and we're going to go real slow right here. It gets real thick right here, but stay at that 1/4 inch. Come into that little tab. Now it gets thick here, so when you get close to it, keep it that 1/4 inch. Pull, remove your. Go slow as you go over that, so nothing jumps, and then stitch it the rest of the way down. Now if you saw that maybe your stitches jumped a little bit, you can kind of flip it over and you could take a look at it, but everything looks nice and straight on this side. So now we're going to get the other side done. And my extra strong clip popped out, so we're going to readjust that. Lining up my seams, making sure the edges are going in the direction I need for them to go. And we'll stitch this side down. Come up onto that juncture. That's just a lot thickness right there, but take it slow. Keep it at your 1/4 inch. Well, that one jumped over, so I'm going to fix that when we flip over. Little jog right there. So I can come back on this side and I can straighten that back up. There we go. All right, now you're going to go ahead and box your corners. So I'm going to match up my seams. You can open them, or you could just flip one way or flip it the other. I'm just going to do that. I'm going to put a clip there in the center on each edge. We're going to do that for all 4 sides. Match up my centers. Here I'm just having one seam go one way and one go the other, kind of nesting them there. Put a clip here. And then I'm going to go ahead and get the boxing done on the lining. Nesting the seam. clip in the center. And remember, you have that opening on the bottom, so that's how we're going to be able to flip it out. We've already got our zipper open, so we know that's in right position. I'll go ahead and clip this side. Nesting that seam, and I like to look at the direction that the seam was going on the other side of the lining, so that way it all lays flatter. All right, so now we're going to just sew all of our box corners together. Get them all sewed up at the same time. Doing 1/4 of an inch also. Going to be a little bit of a pivot here, the way the angle is. And we'll go to the other side. Two more to go. And then all you would have left is pushing everything out and closing up your bottom, closing up the lining. We're almost finished. Most of the work of this bag is getting all the prep work going. Getting all the exterior pieces, the lining, everything all ready to go before you put it all together. Once you get past all of that, then it goes together really quick after this. All right. Now all we got to do is flip her out. And remember, you had to have your zipper all completely opened up. So we're just reaching in. We're going to pull it out. Birthing the baby. Birthing the baby. Because we are really done. We just got to sew the seam for the lining. So you get everything pushed out. This is where I like to grab my little tool, and I go in there and I'm pushing against all of my seams, making sure everything just kind of pops out for the lining, for the exterior. It's where I get a good look at how close I was to matching up everything. I'm just pushing it all out, making everything just kind of pop out. This side out and then the other side. Running my tool against the seam, popping everything out. Got one more thing to pop out. We do that at the end. I'm going to press on my center seam on the bottom. I didn't top stitch it, so I'm just pressing it down. You can get an iron in there and you can press it. Now, if you're doing that vinyls, you don't want to get the iron anywhere near the vinyls. It melts it. But you really don't have to do a whole lot of that. All right, so now I'm just going to go ahead and push my lining down. Still needs to be stitched up, so I just put my I would put my two pieces together and just run it across on the sewing machine, or you can hand stitch it. But I've got everything pushed out. The last thing that needs to be pushed out is this piece right here, the little tab, the zipper tab. So I kind of put my tool in there and I just kind of pop it out here. Go to the other side, kind of reach in and kind of pop it out here. Got some threads we need to clip. Red threads everywhere. Sometimes you might want to get in here and touch it with an iron to kind of get to smooth out where the fusible fleece have been kind of wadded up and you've been moving it here and there. But once you have the bottom zipped up and the bottom sewn up, and then removing all your extra little threads, because there's going to be little threads here and there, you've pretty much are complete. And that is it. This is the Martelli Uni-Tote. This is the Uni-Tote. And again, this is one of those things that you can do so many different things with. You cannot have these pieces, or you could not have these pieces. You could make these handles longer. You can make them shorter. You can use Insulbright, and it'd be an insulated little bag. It could be a lunch bag. It could be a cosmetic bag. You can put drinks in it. I'm going to again show you the other sizes that we have. Again, this was our medium. And this one again measures to be 14 inches length. The width is 4 inches, and it's 8.5 inches high. It's just the perfect little bag, and with the handle that we have, it's just right. If you want to have it on your shoulder, you can easily have it on your shoulder, or you can put D-rings on the sides like I've done with this one. Put the D-rings here, and you could make longer straps. You could take these tabs, they could go up here. If you wanted them to be up here, you could actually have them coming up from up here. So you can do whatever you want. That's why I like the name of it being a universal tote or Uni-Tote. We shortened it down because it could be so many things of what you want it to be. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Here is again the small one. Let me grab the large one because she's a big guy. Could you imagine putting your laptop in here? You could have your big planners in here. You could carry a lot of things. This would be a great diaper bag. You could take this and you could have this pocket going all the way across on the inside. You could make lots of pockets. You could probably put pockets right here on the outside too. There's just however you want to make this. So again, this is the Uni-Tote. I hope you enjoyed this project. This one was a lot of fun. It took me a minute to get it all figured out, but you know, I love zippers. And those of you who know me know I'm not a big, I don't do zippers that much, but I'm getting better, and I'm really liking how these little tabs up here have really turned out. So we're expanding on the bag that we did, which was our little pouch, the puff pouch. So now we're doing something different. I guess we'll try something different the next time we do a bag that has zippers in it. I really hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Be sure to go to martellinotions.com and check us out. See us on all of our social media pages. If you're making this, be sure to post it onto our Martelli Quilters group to put yourself in for the drawing, and just wait till the next next month comes out. It's going to be a good one. Again, thank you so much. This was September 2024, the Martelli Sew and Show subscription box. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a good day.